Welcome to the Positive 10 Podcast, where your stories and soul work matters. Now let's dive in. Good afternoon, good morning. Oh, hang on. Technical difficulties, I guess. Here we go. But- oh, I know what's going on. I have the other one up and going at the same time. Technical challenges on my end. My apologies for the echo and everything else like that. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is another podcast of Story, Soulworks, and Substack. And I have a special guest today. You know, sometimes we have these, we come across these accounts, and one of the things I love about these small accounts is the creativity they bring to the forefront. And more importantly, they have a lot of information that they want to share. And that's the beauty of this. And our guest, once I'll bring her on here shortly, is Jess, and she's the letter from the deep end. And if you haven't read her articles, please go find her after the show and whatever. I'll make sure she's copied and all that, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, I just want to kind of get you guys a little bit more information on what's going on this week. Hey, one of the things, if you are interested in learning more about the promo of all the June authors, these are authors that have submitted their Substack authors, indie authors. And if you don't know what an indie author is someone who is independently published themselves, did all the marketing, did all the things, did all the editing, did all the creativity, all that from nuts to bolts, and put something together and put it either on Amazon, all these other things. And the cool thing about these indie authors, they've actually took the leap of faith and actually put it out there without any backing out. Publishers out there, what they do is they help you go and promote after you're paying thousands of dollars. Sometimes you get picked up, sometimes you don't. And so an indie author really does a lot of struggles to get their publication out there, and a lot of them jumps on Substack, and which is great, because if you think about it, that is the market we are all in. We love books, we all love to read, we all love to understand each other, and that's the beauty of these promotions. So if you go on my Substack, you're going to see that link. It's featured Substack authors. On top of that, this time around, what we're doing is we're adding blogs or your articles, newsletters, whatever you want to call it, the ones that are actually pretty interesting and that had a lot of comments on. I've put them there too. So there's that. There's two sets: writers I'm featuring, and actually book authors, indie authors. And so if you have a chance, you haven't had a chance, please go out there, look at them, click on them, give them reviews. One of the best things you can do for an indie author, especially if they're on Amazon, give them a review, like their stuff. If you can, buy their books, or buy their ebook or whatever, and then put a review. More of that happens for these indie authors, the better it is for their book sales. So that's something you can do if you want. This week, Wednesday's stories, we just had a story today about authentic emails, which was kind of interesting. I received last week, and I thought it was a famous writer at first, and then after a while I realized it was a fake, and my heart was broken and so forth. But anyways, we don't have to worry about that. I'm over it. I wrote about it, and I think it's and I'm hearing that happens a lot more often than just a couple here and there. So if you're still interested in read, it's still there. Wednesday, I'm kind of finishing off the hospital of stay, which it's like my journal. I'm kind of getting to the end of it, and I got one more chapter. I want to kind of polish it off, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do. It's going to either be an ebook or an actual book. Haven't decided. So that's coming out on Wednesday. Also, next week we have Ruth. She is the other person coming on our podcast at 4:00. And where is she? If I can find her. Nope. it's going to be Ashley Smith. And if you know Ashley, she's been around and she's a positive person that always helps everyone out there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation. And then we also have Ruth Uman, and she's another author trying to put her book out there too. So that's a cool thing. What you're going to see more and more, a lot of people will either have a book or going to have stuff like that be coming on more on the podcast. The idea is to really help them get some visibility and so forth on top of their Substack, and that's what we're doing. At the end of the month, we have an indie summit, and that means we're going to have a bunch of conversation with a bunch of authors and writers who are featured, not featured, past featured, and talk about the struggles of writing and talk about the struggles of publishing a book and talk about all these other things that are going on and how we all as a community can come together and help each other. So that's important because really, we're here, we're here. And I think the best part of it is if we're all helping each other, it's going to make all of us better somehow. So with Jess, I just kind of want to go through one of the things that kind of like we were talking in the back just before we got on here. It was about being authentic, and that was probably part of her reason why I resonated with her story, because it was authentic. It was someone who had raw, honest. You can feel the emotions, you can feel the depth of it, and I I think if my memory served me correctly, she kept putting uh, the depth of letter, like she had this logo on everything, and one of the things I suggested was putting the pictures of different things, and I don't know, I haven't seen I don't think I've seen a couple. I think I have seen a couple of them, and I apologize. I've read a lot throughout the process here of reading a lot of people's Substacks, and sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't, and it all depends on how Substack delivers to me. But we were talking about that, and it's sometimes when you're giving people advice, it's kind of hard, because you don't want to hurt their feelings or anything. And what she did was like immediately, oh my God, thank you, I didn't realize that. And that is about the community. It's about us helping each other, and if we can improve each other along the way, we might get more people attracting. And she was telling me she got featured in just recently in a Substack story or Substack newsletter, and that's awesome, and that was great. So I'm going to bring on Jess. I'm going to stop rambling here and bring her in, and we're going to talk, and hopefully you guys get something out of it. Get the soul work of why we do what we do every day on Substack. And welcome back. Let's welcome Jess. Hey, Jess.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. Super excited to be here. First ever podcast I've been on, so.
Oh, well, congratulations. Um, I was just thinking about the moment that I suggested to change your photos here and there. Did
Yeah.
you actually do that? I can't remember if I
I
saw that.
have done it a couple of times,
Yeah.
but the thing about it is I am technically challenged. I love writing. God has given me that gift. It's awesome. I love that. But when it comes to technology, I mean, I right now I'm a full-time accountant as well. I just don't have the
Wait a
time.
minute. You're an accountant and writing? That doesn't make sense.
I know.
Your
It doesn't make
analytical
sense.
skills must be out the charts.
I have been I have been an accountant for now 26 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I am always the most personable one on the team. And I question myself daily, like, why am I in corporate America? Like this, I'm a tortured soul. I want to write. It just, I think in a way God knew that I
Yeah.
was gonna need to pay the bills in
Somehow.
about
Yeah.
17 years
Yeah.
of marriage and be able to provide for a full family.
Yeah.
And it just pays a little better right on the money than
Yeah.
writing
Yeah.
does,
Yeah.
that I could put in. But I have a dream, and one day it's gonna happen.
That's awesome. So yeah, wow. Okay, so you're technically challenged in the sense that
I'm
you're up
technically
for
challenged.
time.
So I
Yeah,
did do it a couple times, but honestly, I said, you know what? This would be awesome, and I could totally focus my energy on finding the best picture.
yeah,
But why am I going to do that when I am still building, first of
yeah,
all,
mhm,
and I'm losing the plot? Like,
yeah.
I felt like I was losing the plot there for a second, and I was
Okay.
like, let's just focus on putting out good content for now. And when I feel that I have the patience and time to put into these graphics, it'll work. But right now, this mama is full.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah, because pitches do take some patience to find and do that. Every day when I do the notes, sometimes like my thought comes first before the pictures, and sometimes the picture comes first before the thought. But when your thought becomes before that, it's like the kitchen or the,
correct.
the chicken or the egg.
And before the
Usually,
egg, I
yeah,
get what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah. So typically I'm kind of like struggling to find that, and the hard part of it is do I actually do I need to invest that much time? And sometimes I don't, because I just find something cute or beautiful and then I just
Yeah.
post it.
And you know what does it? I mean, it may not even truly matter. I do know if I'm more active on notes, I think I tend to receive more feedback and attention. I get my
Yeah.
views go up. I try not to focus on views. It, like I said, I'm missing the plot completely if I do that. For me,
So
right now, where I'm at.
so let's talk about the letter. Where did all that come from? What's the reason behind it?
Well, I have always wrote since I was 8 years old. You mentioned that, and you're like, she writes like she's been writing a long time, and I'm like, actually, I kind of have, just
Yeah.
privately for myself. I've always not really been confident in writing publicly because I wrote about personal things
Yeah.
and deep emotional feelings. And I didn't know how, I didn't have confidence enough in my own self to truly be able to be vulnerable to share.
Yeah.
And so I think, and if you hear my dog,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's okay.
Um,
We're a dog friendly
I
show.
told my dog to be quiet. I don't think he listens. It's his walk time. I don't think dogs know time, but I sometimes think they do. Um, the kids are in charge of that today. They better hurry up.
Are they off school now?
Yes, first week of summer,
Oh,
and
geez.
yeah, it's been interesting. I did enjoy an extra hour of sleep this morning. Slept to the bright time of 6 o'clock. But yeah, how did letters get started? I just I felt I knew that I was at a place where I was comfortable sharing, and then I stumbled across Substack and was reading and just getting inspired. And I said, you know what? March came. I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start it. March 30th. I published my first letter, and it just became. I said, my word for this is consistent. I'm going to stay consistent, and I'm going to stay honest, and I'm going to stay real to who I am. And because we live in an Instagram, everybody wants to be polished. Everybody wants everything to be 11 out of 10. And I'm not saying I don't want my writing to be good. I do. I read it a lot and I put a lot into it. But I'm going to be me. My daddy always said, there's the world and then there's Jess. There's the world and then there's Jess. And it's always been that way. And through reading Letters of the Deep End, you just will find that it's my journey. It's my journey of being 45 and knowing that I haven't got it figured out yet. And that's okay. You know, we said backstage, you said, we're all on our journey, we're all at a different pace. And I think society says you have to be you have to be here, or you measure yourself up. Oh, I should look like this, or my writing should be, or why are my notes not getting the traction that other people's notes are getting, or I have a friend that started a Substack after me, and at first she was comparing because I was getting a little more traction. I was like, please don't stop. If one
Yeah.
person reads your letter, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to be real. I want to not be fake. There's too much of it. And if you can come and hang in the deep end, because most people stay in the shallow end of life. They're not willing to touch areas that I really want to touch.
So,
And
so what was the deepest? So let's talk about that.
okay,
What it was the deepest part of your story that really brought pain into your writing? Do you recall one that you can share?
absolutely. I lived a pretty shallow life up until about 2016 myself.
Shallow life. Okay.
I mean, I say that I lived in the shallow end.
Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
and I say that in the sense that looking back now, in 2016, was married to the love of my life. I got married at 18. He was 21. Young bride. Didn't know what I was doing, but I was leaving home. I knew that. And
Yeah.
I knew I loved this fella that ended up being the love of my life for 17 years. And on December 24th of 2016, he tragically passed away or got into a single car accident. And then we had a 7-day period. We was on life support. And we made the choice after 7 days with the doctors and family that it was best for him to transition into the path after here. And it was Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve. And I remember sitting there. First of all, he went on a drive, he had gone driving, and because he had been spending a whole week, he worked from home. I was working up in Chapel Hill, and we lived up there, and he was working from home, and my mom had been visiting all week.
Oh, yeah.
And it was awesome because he'd been with her all week, and he was like, let's go get some appetizers and
Yeah.
like
Need a
vibe out,
break.
just me and you. We had already gone to my boss's party,
Yeah.
and I said, I went to the boss's party because I had to. I had laryngitis. I was not feeling the greatest. I need to get rest. If you want to go get appetizers, like, go for it. Like, have a good time. Go. He says, actually, I think I'm gonna go for a drive. I said, awesome. I'm going up to bed. And so he went for a drive, and come to find out, he had a single car accident. We later found out it was more than likely a heart attack while driving. And so I didn't know he was where he went driving, and he was missing the next morning. I woke up at like 2 a.m. and I was like, where is he at? And anyway, I'm probably getting way in the weeds here, but
No, no.
I didn't know where my husband was. And so I tried to call him, and it kept going to voicemail. And I'm like, weird. This is okay. Well, we have friends. Maybe they met at the bar.
Yeah.
Never had he done that. That wasn't my husband, but I was giving it maybe he met Brian at the bar, and maybe he didn't want to drive home. Maybe he slept on a couch. Never in 17 years, but nevertheless, I just thought, and time went on. I knew the kids were waking up, and he was nowhere, and the phone was dead. So we actually went through a whole day of not knowing where he was until like 7 p.m. at night. Cops were able to let me know he had been life flighted at midnight the night before, right at midnight. So it was like Christmas Eve midnight. He was sent over on life support. They had revived him 3 times, and I was to go identify him by tattoos. And
it's okay.
I just remember it. My best friend drove me over, and I actually had my oldest son with me. He was 12 years old. His dad was his best friend. I had a 6-year-old at the house and a 3-year-old at the house. And they were with family. And I brought my 12-year-old with me because his dad was his best friend. and he wasn't. He was like, "I'm going." Like, may have to stay in the right waiting room, And when we got there, because I just did not know what to expect, and when they pulled me aside into a room to sit down and have a conversation before we go into a room, and they had the child therapist there and therapy for me, and it took me a while for it to sink in, and then when I went down there, I just still remember that hall vividly, and one day I will write deeper about it, but I have to do it in chunks. But nothing prepares you to see your very best friend, the one you've created life with 3 times. You just don't expect that. And then to know that I have to leave, go home, go to sleep, let the kids know their dad's sick and they're trying to wake him up, and have Christmas morning. It was a lot. It was a lot. But by the grace of God, and I wasn't even really much of a believer at that time, I was really actually not. God was still with me, and I believed in something. I didn't know what, and he was still there.
Right.
So that's kind of what changed me at 35, being a widow, a young widow that had to raise 3 kids on her own. And I had a very demanding job. I was a director of finance for a big fulfillment center up there in Raleigh. And I didn't know how to do it all. And I did not, I even had times where I would ask myself, I think God, or I just say, I'm pretty sure if there's a God, they took the wrong one. I did not feel fit. My first letter talks about spending most of my nights at 3 a.m. in my bathroom smoking pot.
So do you smoke pot to take away the pain? Is that what your goal
I
was?
did. And you know what's funny? I had never smoked pot until 6 months before I met him. 6 months before he passed. Excuse me.
Well, what was the reason behind that?
We had just moved into a town that's very much live music, and it was just, my husband always had on and off, and I was very much against it. I almost divorced him one time because of it. I was like, I caught him ironically on a Christmas morning smoking in our basement before our kids, and I was like, I dare you. You have to smoke before our kids get their presents? Isn't that good enough? Christmas morning.
He needed the numbness.
And then I don't know. I just started really relaxing myself. I just started opening myself up to just new realms and new possibilities. And one day I said, I want to try it. Let's just try it. And I am so grateful I did. And I'm going to tell you why. I got to know my husband more in that last 6 months. We had smoking sessions 30 minutes for bed every night. And we sit on the end of our bed, on the end of the bed, and just smoke a joint, sharing it. And I learned more about him in those last 6 months of life than we did in 17 years.
What was the thing you learned about him that was shocking?
He had a girlfriend that actually unalived herself at 16, and he had never shared that with me before. He was way more relaxed than I don't know. We just were able to connect on a whole different level. And someone said, well, it was because you got on his level. You were more of a high, and it was you're high and mighty, and now you're just chill. Maybe I was different, maybe it wasn't him at all. Maybe it was me. I haven't even thought of that.
No, it's called acceptance.
Yes. And I'm actually grateful for that. And he did kind of teach me, but I I didn't think about smoking pot until I got home that first night. I had the whole family in the house, and I'm like, I gotta figure this out. My mom's here, and she knew Jeremy did, but she definitely wouldn't know I didn't. Even though I was like 35, and it was my own house. I'm like, whatever. Anyway, I called a good friend, young 25-year-old college student over. I said, Jeremy's got all this stuff. I need you to teach me how to use it. She's like, bet. All right, I'm down right now. And so, honestly, I used that as a coping mechanism for the longest time. I'd sit in my bathroom after my kids would go to sleep. And because I didn't want them, it's almost like I was a teenager hiding from my parents. I'd like put the towel down and but I'd sit there and the night I was the loneliest because the bed was cold. And my first husband, he liked to dress, and so his closet was immaculate. And I kept his light on at night, and I would just look at it just the way he left it. Just the way he left it. He had his jogging clothes from when he had went out that morning, for his walk. Everything just like he left it. And I would stare at it. But I had his t-shirt over a pillow holding it, but sometimes those things were just not enough. It was a really cold bed after 17 years. And I didn't really know who I was without him. When you get married to somebody that when you're 18 and you don't even have your own identity yet of who you are, your frontal lobe is not, but you know what the good thing is? And what I love and why I write the letter of the deep end, let me tell you why. The reason I do is because even in that smoke-filled room every single night, I believed in a higher power. I laid there high as a kite, getting through, crying, listening to music to get up and survive the next day. But what I didn't know until 2019 at an altar at a church that I didn't want to go, I was dragged there by my son, said, I'll go for you, but don't expect me to like it. I found myself up at the altar kneeling, not knowing what I was kneeling for, not knowing what it was. Is this magic? Is this witchcraft? Is this all something in my mind? But I was desperate. And I found myself even not even wanting to, but getting down there. And when I knelt down at that altar, I saw in my mind God laying beside me, holding me in that bathroom. And there was no shame. There was no guilt. There was no, why did you do that? It was just being cradled. I saw it. I felt it. And it was enough for me to keep going on. And that's when I knew. I said, you know what? I know why God kept me here. I don't know. I used to say, if God himself came down here and told me the reason he took my husband, I'd say, you can take it and go. There's no reason good enough. Leave. That's what I used to say that because I didn't feel like he would have a good enough answer. But I can tell you right now, and I don't even, this has only been 10 years, right? 10 years in December. I can tell you right now, I can already see the fruits of it. We will never know why, but we can see what God has done in it. I mean, I'm not here to preach. I'm not going to preach, but I know what God's done in my life, and I know what being real, and God can only deal with the real.
Yeah.
No, we all can only deal with real. If you're putting on a fake facade, nobody wants that. No. That's a dupe.
So was he a healthy person? I'm just curious now. Is he
pretty much healthy? He has there was a gene in his family with heart conditions and stuff, and he was very stubborn about going to the doctor. Wow. He was healthy. Wasn't overweight. I mean, he did at times get up to about a 36 pants at one point. But I mean, all in all, he was a healthy dude.
Yeah.
Um,
So is this a freak accident? Was this a freak moment?
Freak accident. And, you know, the whole community up there, they had only known us for a short while, maybe a year. And we'd only lived there for 4 months, and they all came and stayed in the waiting room with us. Like, you
Wow.
know, we were at the time promoting some bands and stuff, and just really into that scene. And they all came up and just were there with me. And I knew then, and that group, I will always call them family because they are the realest bunch. Like, I just love them, and I'm so glad that they accepted me and my family when I didn't have a family with me, and I really did not want to go back home to New Bern.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, and that's why I have the deep end. I want it to be a community. I want somebody to feel seen. I want somebody that's laying on the floor at 3 a.m. to know that, hey, you're not the only one, and this does not have to be the end.
So when you were kneeling at the altar and you felt the presence of God there, did that kind of like washed away a lot of the shame or the embarrassment or any of that? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of emotion. I'm using words now. I'm not saying that's how you felt. I'm just saying,
Right, right.
like, the hurt, the pain, all that stuff. Because I'm sure you went through a lot of emotions. Did
Just
it
a
just kind
flood.
of like washed away, or was it just more or less was an answer?
It was all of that, to be honest. And I don't know that it all came at one time.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to see that came in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and it gave me peace. I did a lot of emotional release at the altar that I can't truly explain. It was something that I will tell you this. I think it was the first time I exhaled,
Mm.
and that was 2 years. It was November 2018, and that was 2 years post loss. It was the first time I had let go because a week after his death, um, Christmas break was over. We were back in school, and I was back at work. I was scared. I was scared to let. I was scared to let go any at all because I was scared if I let go any at all, I would never come back.
Why is that?
Um, I was scared that I had this fear that if I truly let myself feel the impact of what I was truly experiencing, I would not be able to survive for my kids, if
So
that makes
you
sense.
were walking around numb,
I was
and
in shell.
I should say that because usually tragedies
I was shell shocked for a while,
you were
and it
probably
would hit me in waves. Like my husband used to sing. First, he used to sing to me every night, and then when we got kids, he'd sing to our kids every night. And I remember the first, after telling them, you know, he had passed away and all of that, my youngest coming and looking at me, and I was fine again. I composed myself, back doing good day. I mean, this, and then my youngest goes, "Mommy, who's gonna sing my night songs to me tonight?" And then I just remember collapsing again. You know, like it was big waves like that. It was walking into the grocery store after work for the first time, and you turn to the left, vegetables, this, that, and then you see croissants that you would always pick up and put in the cart for him. And having like just being washed with emotion, like, but I had to disassociate to work. I had to disassociate to be a mom and to function. And I was very, very, very scared that if I let myself feel what I needed to feel at that moment, that it wouldn't
you weren't
I
ready.
wouldn't get out of bed. Let's just say if I laid
You
down in that bed, what
yeah,
if I wasn't gonna get out?
you weren't ready for it.
No, I wasn't ready for it. And God met me when I was ready to truly process, and He didn't judge me, and He's
Yeah.
still not judging me. I've come a long way. I'm doing pretty good. But
Yeah.
I hope, I just told someone today, I said, I hope I never, ever, ever stop being in process. I hope I'm always a piece of work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you're
We
not a,
all.
if you're not always, always just, trying to just be aware or be observant or be alive and get excited and be hopeful and dream, you're existing.
Yeah.
And there's nothing good in that. And I did that for a long time.
So you talked about peace. Tell me what peace looks like to you.
Mm. Peace is what I will protect at all costs. I never knew true peace. I will tell you this honestly. I never knew true peace until I met. I mean, this comes after meeting Jesus. I'm telling you. Until I met my husband now, Sean.
Yeah.
Jesus is the peace and the truth and the light. Let me tell you. But he brought Sean to me, and Sean is just a tad bit older than I am. About 8 years. He's a Gen X. He likes to say I'm a Gen X, but I am. I'm an 81 baby. I just want.
Gen
Um,
X of a different style.
right. And he just brings a level of, we're polar opposites. I write about this up in an upcoming letter about how with my first husband, I melded into him and his likes and this. But with Sean, I don't have to do that. He, I guess, in my own 5 years of singledom, learned who I wanted to be finally. And with him, he lets me be it. And he helped me understand the importance of boundaries in your life, because there have been times where, well, the majority of my or family of origin, my childhood growing up was chaotic and enmeshed and toxic. And I didn't know any different for a very long time. And the majority of my first marriage, God rest Jeremy's soul for putting up with it. But he married my family,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it came with it, and everybody had opinions about everything and was in the Kool-Aid and didn't know the flavor. Let's just say it.
But Sean recognized the issues. And he kind of
Actually, right before he showed up, I would say about 4 months before he showed up, I went no contact with my mom.
Now, do you
And
have siblings too?
I do, and
And
I'm only in contact with one right now, and it is okay, and I'm at peace with it because I have peace when people come into our house. It's crazy. Like, we don't live in some sanctuary house where it's like water fountains and fancy. I mean, you see this room.
It doesn't.
I mean, look at this room. I'm almost thinking y'all are gonna think I'm some kind of serial killer with this 1970 drawers. But anyway, this is where our computer is. So
Yeah, I got it.
Anyways, I lost my train of thought there for a second.
So you had no contact.
I had no contact, but
And you have one.
my house isn't fancy, but I have the people that I do invite in my home, which are not many, because people bring energy, and I ain't about that. And Sean isn't about that. So I used to just bring people, come over, people pleaser, yeah, and he was like, this is our private space.
Yes.
We need to protect our sanctuary. This may not be fancy or the Taj Mahal, but it's our private space that we come to relax. It's where we come to rejuvenate, and we have to be protective of our peace and our space. And there should be no excuses about protecting that.
Yeah.
We work hard for what we have, and God has given us, and we have every right to lovingly set boundaries. And so
I actually understand that because I kind of lived, my mom was a little, I mean, she's a good person overall, but she is a little loud. She's Italian, and there's a lot of things going on with that.
oh yeah.
And sometimes the house could be very lively. And For a long time, I didn't understand that you needed a sanctuary place, and it was really hard to find that in a house like that. And nothing wrong with where how I grew up. It was
Right.
it was just my childhood how it was. And then during the pandemic is when I really understood what peace meant. And cuz I was by myself, I was alone. There
Mm,
was nobody coming to save me. Nobody. And anybody that I trusted at the time left and
mm.
left me alone. And that's when you get to the point where you go, shit, this is it. There's nobody like your family members don't really, I mean, I'm sure they care, but they're on their own. They doing their
Yeah.
own things. Your friends that you thought you had friends are no longer your
Correct.
friends.
Correct.
And during this process that I was going through is that you start getting this awakening and more of a rude awakening in the sense of like you get really tired of people, the drama really quickly.
Say it again for the people in the back.
And I, it got to the point where, and I don't know, a lot of people know this. I don't know if I really want to share this yet, but
Okay.
um, there was a point where, so when you get to the point where a lot of things go against you really, really bad, and you hit the bottom of the bottom, and you can think of all the bottoms that there is, but I hit a rock bottom crap, and I was nowhere to. I should never have returned where I came from, and I fought back hard all the way through. And when someone does that, they become a different person. And it's not that they don't care about people; they do care about people, but they care about the right people. And what happens is during that whole process of understanding who you are and protecting your peace, now I protect my peace at all cost. Now, there is some family dynamics that going on because it is what it is, right? And there's times where I say to Marie, and I go, look, I'm not into it. And she goes, okay. And she understands because I just don't want, like, my attitude is I just don't want that energy in my life. I want to be a better person. I want to exceed. I want more than just the mundane crap that everybody complains about, the noise about this or the distractions. Like, did you see this? Did you see that? Like, those are distractions. They're not really building who you are as a person. It's just an avoidance. It's a distraction. It's codependency. You call it detachment, whatever you want to call it.
Correct.
It's just what it is. It's just if you get to the point of who you are as a person, there's something inside you that someone believed in you one time, and that was you, and you forgot about it.
Yeah, that's good.
And when you get lost, and you get lost in that world of crapola, you're nothing other than just whatever the environment creates.
Yeah.
And you got to be your own creator. And
Hmm.
that's what, if you think about the higher being, that's what they're saying to you. Believe in you, believe in what you can do for yourself. Focus on you first moving forward. And then through the divorce and all that, and I had with my kids and all that, I mean, there was one point where I'll tell you, when I asked for, like, I used to name the years, and I haven't done this in a while. And I would call this one last time I did, it was called peace.
Mm,
I want peace.
mm.
And God does not give you peace. No matter what you look for, He gives you chaos and
Yeah.
destruction and all this stuff. And you can, and I'm using God as just as a high figure point, but it could be Buddha, it could be Muhammad, all these other people. What I'm saying is, when you ask for something, you're not going to get back to what you expect. So be very careful what you ask, because when you ask for it, you can get back something you did not expect. So I'm very cautious when I ask the universe about something. So when I asked for peace, it was probably the horrible time of my life. My my kids were accusing another household of, then I got to be very careful how I say this, things that were, apparently they're all unfounded, but they were reported, and it was very toxic. It was really, really bad. I mean, there was social service involved, there was police involved, there was investigations, there were 90 days, blah, blah, blah. My kids were not in no way good shape at all.
Mm.
And we went through psychologists and all. And I say all this because to get to peace is very, it's very hard to do that. And when I finally got to peace, when I finally got to the end of the year, and it almost broke me. But that wasn't the only broke that time of the year. It was the season of walking in the valley of destruction. You're destroying everything that you ever once had in your life, and you have to rebuild. And
Yeah.
when that time came, I said no more. I was done. And part of the no more was I had to let go of my kids because it just got too toxic. It just drove me apart. And I always say to somebody who challenged me on things, I would say to them, letting you go is easy.
Yeah.
Letting go of my children was probably the toughest thing I ever had to do in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, I created peace.
I get that.
So I completely where you come from.
It's hard, but it's almost like you have to put on your own life jacket first. And I wasn't doing that for a long time, and it was at that altar that is where I finally knew it was time to seek peace.
Yeah.
And for me, that peace is Jesus Christ, and I have seen him radically change who I am. I don't know that my first husband, Jeremy, would recognize this person that I am today. I sometimes think about that, like I'm 100% different. But I am true to who I know my creator made me to be. And I know that I am walking in that purpose. Where that purpose is leading, I don't necessarily know.
But you don't have to know.
That's the fun of it.
You just gotta what people don't understand. What peace says to a certain person is live for today, the only day you have. I mean, prepare for the future. Prepare for things that would matter the most to make yourself a better day every day.
Yep.
All you have, and what your husband went through, he only had that day, and that was it.
And that's what I learned.
And what most people don't really understand is the noise, all this stuff, and it can get really destructive. And if you don't walk out of the strategy or the tragedy or those things that I was talking to somebody about, because I was thinking about writing the second book of Earned, Not Given. And it's a lot more of the peace and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't get easier, because the last book, part of it, I kind of just made it not fluff, but kind of like an easy ending, which was supposedly that was the thought. But we were talking about it, and I said, earned, why not? Or something like that. And he goes, no, earned, not given, delivered. And he goes, or deliverance, or something like along those lines. And I was like, he goes, because, you walked out of the valley and you were delivered. And that's where most people don't understand. Like, because he was telling me about some things, and I was like, well, I appreciate it. But, he was saying it takes a certain special person to go through certain things. And either it'll break you forever and you become dependent on alcohol or whatever it is to numb the pain and all that kind of stuff, which sometimes it might be just a substitute just to heal yourself through that process, which I completely understand, which I've done that myself. Or you don't do that and you just start focusing on you and you start to put the work in, and sometimes that work is the hardest part of the
Oh, it
it's
ain't easy. You gotta, it's like working out. You gotta go to the gym.
yeah, that
You know,
sucks. I'm telling you, it's not an easy path, and
it
that's
really
where
isn't. But I will protect it at all costs.
yeah,
And protecting it is not easy either, because you're constantly having to have these
yes,
conversations. But what I've learned too is that tough conversations are healthy and necessary.
yeah.
And I used to avoid them like the plague.
But sometimes those conversations can be the most rewarding ones because
100%.
at the end of the day, you're both challenged at whatever the thing is, and or the issue, concerns, whatever. And what happens is you kind of go like, or you talk about that person, and one time I said, every time we have a fight, which is rare, is because of this person.
Yeah.
The correlation becomes
Yeah.
it's not a phenomenal anymore. It becomes a routine, and
Right.
that's an issue. And some people don't get that. And they don't get that there's some people that'll never. I had a theory.
Okay.
I had a theory. I think there's 4 levels of life.
Okay.
A spiritual life.
Okay.
You have your dwellers who basically are the ones that are the the homeless, all those type of people that are just bottom feeders. And I don't mean that to be rude, but that's how I
Yeah.
describe the layers. That's how I think. Then you have the egotistic people who basically are the control freaks. And they're the ones that are controlling the bottom feeders all day long
Mm.
and manipulating them, destroying them. And you can put the media in there, the politicians, the government, all those corporations, anything that to market them, to kind of like put them down further. And then there's a small percentage of people who get to the point where they get enlightened, and not enlightened in the sense of like a light bulb kicks off and all of a sudden they're saved. It's more like, wow, a discovery of self, and how do I live this world? Because now I'm seeing the 2 levels below me, and I don't mean they're below you, but in a negative way. I'm just using as an analogy the lower levels. I see the manipulations, I see the dramas, I see all these things playing out. I see the TV trying to pollute my mind, or this person doing this social media doing this. I see all this stuff creating these puppeteers and the manipulations, and I'm sitting up here, or most people are sitting up there going, that's a lot of work for nothing and whatever. And then there's the higher level of conscience, I think. And those are like the Buddhist, like the people who have spent time meditating and spending multiple times, multiple years. They figured out how to really protect their sanctuary, and they understand that world. Yeah, that's sort of my 4 levels of.
That's interesting. It really is interesting. I can definitely see in to a degree, like for me, as in my walk with Jesus, I have, as I strive to get closer to Him and strive. He is the ultimate peace, is what I have found, and for me, and well, in my belief, everybody. But anyway, I say that all to say that he's the reason for me. And as I have grown, like studying, trying to do better, trying to, just be more present and know what God wants for me here. If I'm still breathing, that means there's a purpose in my life.
Yeah.
He ain't done with me yet. So my every day I wake up, it's like, okay, what am I to do to, using your analogy, to level up. How am I to build God's kingdom today? How can I partner with you, God, to be a light to those that are, using your analogy, on the other two levels? I
Yeah.
don't know who I'm going to run across that may be in those other levels, or maybe it's a prayer. Maybe it's a prayer for, because what the word I would use that works for me is, it sounds to me like discernment. I'm able to discern things that when you're on those bottom two levels, you're too distracted to see, right? And I feel like once you reach this connection with God, when I got to that altar and I accepted Him and I felt His love and warmth wash over me, as we talked about, I knew it. I felt a belonging I'd never felt before. And that was the start of where peace comes, you know. And I think that that's where people fail sometimes, when they get that feeling, they think it's going to stay that way forever.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't. You get clarity, and then when, as you're going to get, you know, it's like,
It's like, where did he
big
go?
speed bumps are coming, you know, you had a great awakening. Now, guess what? Tragedy's about to hit. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But once you get it, you know, it's pretty awesome. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, this life has not been easy. I don't wish that on anyone what to go through what I went through, but I will say, all in all, God's been faithful, and He's my number one.
Awesome. You remind me, the story that you bring up about the, kneeling at the altar reminds me of the kneeling of the feet on the
Mm,
cross.
mm.
That's where, I think that's where a lot of people, when they start looking up, when they kneel before Him and they look up, I think that changes that's when I think that, just that imagery, I think I think you've finally got to a point where I give up. Help me.
I didn't have anywhere else to go. And I really didn't expect it to be there. My son had asked me to go to church, and I was like, uh, okay. All right. I was like, I'm going for you, but I'll go. You know, I love you, so I'm going.
Yeah.
Don't expect me to be all in it. Okay. And before I know it, my legs were moving up to the, I'm like, what is happening? Why am I doing, it was almost out of body. I'm like, why? But it was like, I needed, my mind, body, and spirit needed to let go. And it's been a journey ever since. God has surrounded me with the best. I have a wonderful mentor, uh, my pastor Christina, my pastor's wife, and she's just been great for me, and a select group of friends, small group of friends. Uh, I'm a happy duck.
So let's. So you did a lot of work, which seems, but you're not. Obviously, you're saying you're not done, and I don't think we're all done. That's just part of the process. Because I'm doing what you're doing. Like, I'm just writing my stories, and even though it's called the positive pen, sometimes the stories are not always positive, but hopefully
Right.
they have a positive ending.
Yeah.
Um, so where do you see yourself going with this?
A girl has dreams. I started it with a goal. I've always had a dream of writing a book. I never knew what that would be at first. I always thought of children's books and this and that, but and that still being the possibility. But I write what's on my mind, and I write about life, and I write what I feel somebody else might need, because I know I'm not the only one. I just know I'm not. And if there's 8 billion people on this planet, somebody needs to hear my story. And if it's one person, that's why I'm gonna write. If I get one view, that's why I write.
Yeah, that was the intention of the positive pen, was the beacon of light.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that was the whole intention of the positive pen, was to be a beacon of light for somebody.
But that's what God wants us to be. That's why we're here, because we reflect His light.
Yeah, and if you take my analogy about the four things,
Yes.
the beacon of light is opening the light, and hopefully someone looks up and say, "Oh, there's light," and then my analogy is they can always interchange,
Hmm.
and they can always climb up, and that's what I think that's what we're all about. Especially us. I mean, that's why I resonate with your writing, because it was about a beacon of light, and I think that's what we're all about, is to share stories that I think we've forgotten. I mean, it's history. People like wonder, well, how does history? What's history? Well, history was a fascinating thing in the traditional days of back in back when 1800, like back when where they didn't have a lot of writing or cell phones and all that. People will go from tribe to tribe or town to town or whatever that area was, and they would always come back with stories, and their stories were about ventures and what they found, and the reason behind that, and all those things, and then they brought them back to share, and they told them, and obviously most of them were males, so it was from his story,
Mm.
his story. And that's how history became history in so many ways. I'm sure I'm butchering why behind it, but the concept was they were sharing stories, and they would bring that. And I think the art of telling stories is forgotten. And I think the telling a story, like I came across somebody, and they said, our speech per day, we're losing 30 words in conversations.
What
Yeah, and on a normal thing, we're losing
is?
because it's very scary, because we're more connected on social media than ever before, and all the distractions. So if we're constantly losing 30 words, at a time, imagine the compound on that over the next 5 years.
Mm.
We won't be talking to anyone.
Yeah, and sometimes I have to fight isolation myself. Once I found peace, I found that I like being alone, and I really enjoy it. And so I have to fight that sometimes, just because I've had a long week, but I need to make time for friends and socializing, and just because I can do it online or here at home, don't mean that I need to. I need to create time to socialize and to be a active participant in society.
Well, I used to be like every night I was somewhere.
Yeah, same.
Every night, either I was, because I was playing baseball at the time, so I was on the field, practice field, or I was at a bar, or I was someone's backyard. I was doing something. Every night was an activity, and I didn't understand solitarily. I mean,
Hmm.
that's where COVID came in and basically sat down my ass and said, "You're there, learn to deal with it."
Yeah,
And coming out of it, I was like, now I understand
yeah.
why people want to spend time to themselves, because they love them. They love you found that you are not a bad
I'm
person.
actually a pretty awesome person. I've spent,
Yeah,
40 years hating me
yeah.
and being my worst troll. And then now I'm like, I'm pretty cool. I have the best conversations in my head. Like,
are
I only
you sure,
sometimes
are
answer
you sure not like an Einstein walking around with your robe and talking to yourself?
that. I just hid my robe in the room back there.
So, when's your next piece coming out?
Sunday. Every Sunday at 6 p.m. I drop a letter, and then I do a mid-month Wednesday letter. But I don't really promote that one as much. I feel like that one's for the ones that just that's the ones for the people that check their email. And I'm like, I'm gonna give them a special nugget, and I always do. I feel like I love my mid-month Wednesday noon drops, because I don't promote them. I always only see emails, because I'm like, that's the real ones right there. That's the ones. That's my dogs.
So after being on here for a year, you gained some followers or some subscribers, which is great.
189 by last night, but I'm not counting it. Really, it's not a big deal.
But after a year, that's a pretty good accomplishment.
Is it really?
I was been on here for 5 years. I didn't get to where I am. Like, I think the first 2 years I had less than 20 people.
Well, that gives me hope because I look up to you. I always see on Substack where there's like, when you scroll the feed, it's like one note gets like 5,000 likes and they didn't say anything significant. And you're just like, if I spent my time writing something good and like 2 people like it or not even, or it has no views, you're like, this is silly. I'm not wasting my
time. Yeah, I don't understand that.
I'm not playing the game, bro.
Yeah,
I didn't sign up to play the game.
No, I think they're. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand that, and that's fine. But
yours always do good, so you have nothing to
no.
worry about.
I mean, less than 100 sometimes. I mean, that's fine. But I mean, really, when I do my notes, those are my thoughts, or like those are actual something like
off the cuff kind of things.
Well, they're not off the cuff. Obviously, there's a little bit put behind it, but they're like a daily thought. And I used to do a daily thread.
And maybe I should do that. It probably would actually really help if I'm going to see it as like some kind of strategy, which should be a strategy. But I look at it as like a 10-year goal. I would like within 10 years to have a book.
You can get a book in a year.
I don't know. It just seems like such a big thing. Like
you have a story.
I know, that's why I'm writing all this stuff so that I have you know what I mean? I don't know. Everybody says I have someone I talk to sometimes, and they are a very good reader of mine, and they say, write the book already. Like, why are you so? And I don't know if it's perfectionism. I don't know if I'm scared of failure.
So just to kind of like the trick for me is sometimes I get a note and I create a note and I write a story out of it. Sometimes my public stories become part of a series or book. So my hospital stay, I don't know if you've been following that. And
yes,
you don't have, but that's all recent stuff. That's all like stuff that I've actually cataloged and start writing. And I just thought, and part of the reason why I started piloting is because I wanted to write stories so eventually I can gather as many as I can and create the book. Or
that's me right now. I'm there. I'm you at that point.
Yeah, but it's cataloged a little better. So it's
yours is cataloged a little better.
Well, I mean, it's not you. I'm not saying mine's. I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm sorry. I'm just
throwing my stuff up there, and we'll see how it
goes. No. But I catalog it because I want to, so I can pull it and then put it in a whatever I'm going to use. Like I can put it in a Word, and then I can format it correctly. That's the reason why I catalog the way I do, is because it makes sense. I mean, what you do, you're just putting down thoughts, which is what you need to do, because you have a lot of thoughts that are sitting there and you're trying to figure it all out, and you need a place to vent it. And hopefully if it gets traction, you don't really care. I think you can put a book together with all your letters.
I think I just don't have.
And by the way, who's the letter going to?
Good question. The one that feels alone.
I had a thought about your husband. You're the person that passed. I thought the letter was going to him.
No, it's actually not. The letter is written truthfully to whoever is going through. I picture me back then. I picture desperate me. I picture, or it depends on what I'm writing. Everything I'm writing, it depends on that particular topic. I always have that in mind. Like, the letter I wrote today, I am talking about me fitting in, and it comes out a couple weeks from now, but it's more or less me talking to someone that don't feel sufficient, and they feel like they have to mold themselves to whomever they're around.
Do you
Because
feel like you're writing to your kids sometimes?
I like to hope that they will read it. Honestly, I don't now. I don't think they really. I mean, they're like, "Yay, mom's got a blog." Which,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe one day it'll be significant to them.
but if you get a book, it'd be a different story.
Oh, probably. Oh, mom.
Yeah.
I mean, I've asked my oldest son, who just got married, lives down in Miami. He's a pastor down there. He said, I said, hey, you know, a lot of people, they could like my stuff here in Miami. Like, share. He gave me one share of one post. I'm like, and that was like forever. I was like, I went to your page. I don't see it on. He's like, oh, I just did a story. I'm like, the person who birthed you. Okay, son. Noted. I've supported every one of your freaking football games, your college, but I'm not going to bring that up. No. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that story. I appreciate it.
That's funny. So he's a pastor now. Is he doing well down there?
He is. He's doing good. He is with VU Church, VU Church. He is a kids pastor. I went down. He just graduated from college, but he was employed a year before actually at this church.
Wow.
But pretty good. He's been doing that stuff. He brought me to church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he was really into. They kind of my church, Latitude Church in New Bern, North Carolina. They are really good with getting the youth involved in like the cool tools of technology. Like he could run the camera, he could mess with this, learn the sound machines, and and that's how and then he had positive male role models in his life that I couldn't be. I learned that female cannot, maybe some women can. I personally was not able to be, I don't know what it's like to be a dude. Okay. And so there were some things that I just couldn't be for my son, as there were conversations he wasn't going to have with me. And I'm probably better for it. But there were people there that he could trust and emulate. So yeah, he's down there. He's a kids pastor for VU Church in Miami Gardens. They average about 500 kids,
Wow.
And I'm proud of him. He's 22 and he just got married to the love of his life, and she's a sweetie. So yeah, they're down there, and I see him.
So how did your children cope after all that? Did they
after he got married?
No. After the passing of their father.
How did I cope?
No, not you, the children.
Kids are very resilient. And I actually, okay, couple quick stories.
Yeah.
Came home to tell my kids. Obviously, I had to tell my kids, my younger two, that their dad had passed. The older one was with me, and we said our goodbyes there together. And him and I made that choice together. And that's a whole other story I don't have time to get into. But on the way home, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to tell my younger two. Lily, my daughter, 6, and Jackson was 3. And Lily's very wise. I've always said she's 85 in a kid body. She's 16 now, but like she says really profound things like what I'm about to tell you. We get her in the room, and I set them down privately, each one, and I let them know, the doctors tried their best, and unfortunately, they could not wake up Dad. But Dad will always be in your heart, and he's always with you, and you can talk to him whenever, and he's your special guardian angel, and
Yeah.
And at 6 years old, she looks at me and she says, I kind of had a whisper in my ear last night that Daddy wasn't going to wake up.
Ooh.
And I said, really? She said, yeah. And I said, she goes, but you know what else he said in the whisper? I said, what's that? She said, and this is 6 years old. She says, she says, I think it was my dad. My dad says, how did she say it? She says, sometimes life is a game and sometimes it's your turn to play and sometimes it's your turn to get out of the game. And it's dad's turn to get out of the game.
Oh.
And I was just like wrecked, but also stunned at the profoundness of what my 6-year-old, like, how did he get that?
Yeah.
Only if you believe in something more. You know what I'm saying? Only if you believe in something more. And Jacob, my oldest, it would have been maybe 6 or 7 months. And I was the type, because I was running from life. Every weekend we had some place to go. We were going somewhere. We were doing something. I didn't want to be at the house. I finished work for the week. We were going somewhere. And we were driving at night. It was Friday night, and the kids were sleeping in the back. Jacob was beside me, and he says, I said, you kind of seem like you're doing good. A song came on. I was like, this is mine and your dad's song, He's like, and kind of held my hand for a second. I said, how are you? I said, you just really seem to like be doing okay. I said, how are you doing? And he's like, I'm actually doing pretty good, Mom. He said, I just realized I don't like feeling the way I'm feeling, and I'm not going to feel that way anymore. And me drowning, sorry, I forget I have this one. Me drowning in my sorrows, I just think, oh, how easy, right? Like, you just don't want to feel that way anymore. But
your kids gave you 2 great titles for your book.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll have to talk more about that offline, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that. I had a thumb print ring made of Jeremy with his thumbprint, and I wore it like it was him on my hand, like, cannot lose this, have to have it at all times. I rubbed it all throughout the day, and one day I was, I'm an accountant and working for an office. I had to go mail a lot of statements out, and when I went to put the envelopes in the thing at the post office, the ring fell in. They could not find it anywhere. They looked, and I was devastated. And my daughter Lily was with me, and she sits down. I remember sitting on the curb of the parking lot, just like devastated, like, I lost my ring, and how sad is this? And she says, Mom, she says, that ring really isn't Dad. She says, so matter of fact, right? She goes, Dad, you've already got Dad, and Dad's in your heart. You don't really need that ring.
That's the ending of your book.
The ending?
Hmm?
It could be.
Just some thoughts.
I love it, though. I'm not surrounded by enough community of writers. I don't think that can lead me. You know what I mean? Like, I think I have more than I think I know. I have.
Yeah, just the 3 things you just told me are very profound. I love that. Could be a great ending to a book.
So
because it's about letting go.
Yeah, and I did, and that was huge. I mean, that was a monumental moment. And I can reorder the ring. I can call it Funeral Home. They've still got it. I can, and I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't, and I've let go of more things. I had his urn for years, and I held it hostage, and it was awkward with his family. I didn't go see his family like I should. It felt weird to be around them, and because he wasn't there, and it was just, we were grieving differently. It was just a whole thing. And I held on to his urn forever, and the kids were passing by it, like, after a while. This is last year, and I felt God tell me one day, actually, as I was helping one of my best friends lost her daughter and her granddaughter in the same year. Same year I lost my, so we bonded through grief, and I was helping her set up a new thing for her child and grandchild at the funeral home she does at the cemetery. I was helping her set up an arrangement. She does one every month, and I just felt something like, you should give the urn to Jeremy's mom. And I'm like,
Wow.
the heck you say? No, negative. And I just and then it came back, and I told my friend Teresa, I said, I really, really feel like I need to give this urn to his mom, Roseanne. And I says, but she goes, I says, but I feel like I'm at a point in my life I don't need it like I needed it before. And the kids aren't even using it. I said, no, I want to hold it. If the kids want to hold it, I will hold it for them, but they're not coming to it like they used to. And I'm not. And I don't want it to sit here. And anyway, she says, Jessica, I love you enough to tell you, she said, you're married again. Not that doesn't diminish what you had with Jeremy, but Roseanne misses her son. And that would help her in her grief cycle more than you ever would know as a mother receiving her son home.
Yeah, but it also interferes your current marriage.
Correct. Well, she's been loving with it. I didn't sit on the buffet. I had a little thing for the kids, and he's been great. But I asked the kids, I said, what do you guys think of this? They were like, we would love Mima to have it. Let her have it. And I said, you sure? And so I called her, honey. She was on an airplane within 2 weeks to get it. And it repaired she spent the weekend, and we were able to talk. And our relationship is it did like 180. Like, wow. We just got back from Miami together, seeing my oldest. And that would have never happened before. I couldn't do that. It felt too weird.
Well, that's part of peace.
Yeah.
Peace is about giving.
And it was freeing. It is so freeing. And I didn't feel a loss. I haven't felt empty. I'm at peace. Life on life terms, man.
So I'll give you something that I did today. So there's a blanket. There was a quilt or something that I bought, and it was during this transition I was in, very hard time, and it wasn't a thing that it was just a bed cover, more or less. And it was old. It was getting old. It was worn, and it was something that, needed replaced with something new. And I kept it because I was like, that was something that I paid for that I didn't have a lot at the time. And I was struggling. I was struggling a lot, and I needed something for my bed, and that was something I had. And today I gave it up.
Today?
I donated it. Yeah.
How did that feel for you?
I just felt like it was time for a change. Like life needed to move on.
I totally get that. I will cry when my 2018 Corolla that I bought for myself by myself on credit for 5 years, then I paid it off all on my own. Let me tell you, I'm gonna drive that thing with or without hubcaps. I don't care if I'm an accountant and my husband's an engineer. I don't care. It's got like a mellow yellow stain up there from my stepson, like throwing his mellow yellow bottle up. It's got a mustard packet. We won't go there. Anyway, I just love my Corolla. It tells a story. We go back to stories.
Yeah.
And that's why I write. That's why there's Letters of the Deep, and that's why you get Positive Pen. We have to tell a story. My car tells a story. That blanket tells a story.
Yeah.
And that story is going to connect for somebody, and it's a light for somebody.
Yeah.
And if I can be a light to one person.
There was just quickly, there was a lamp, standing lamp, and my son and I bought that together. And Marie's like, it doesn't fit the decor. And I was like, I don't really care about the decor. I care about the memory of it because that was my son and I bought.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's like, well, okay. So she just accepted it. But, it actually kind of goes okay with the furniture and all that.
Creative minds. I mean, we're sentimental at heart.
But, when you start, like, I think that's where, if we kind of like wrap this up a little bit,
Right.
when you look at your life and you say to yourself, through the struggles, you went through a lot of struggles, you bought stuff, you got some materialistic things, or you because you needed them, not because you wanted them, because you needed them to make your life better. And then as you go through the progress of that, what happened was it got to the point where your new life, it helped propel you to where you are today.
Mm.
And that's where you're at in life. And then it sometimes they don't mean to stay here. They're not meant to be here forever. They're meant to
Yeah.
be here to help you get to the next stage. And that's what life is about, is finding those pieces that help you along the way to get going. It could be somebody, it could be a materialistic thing, it could be a quote, it could be whatever, it could be a story that we're telling. That's where those things are meant to help you get going. And then you have to let it go for someone else to enjoy.
You have to.
Because in your case of your mother-in-law, she needed to enjoy the moment with her son. And I bet you that was probably half her battle with you, or not
It
a
was. I'm a 100%.
three quarters of it. I mean, the other 25% was like, what happened?
It was all about what me and my kids, I felt like we're going through in a sense,
Yeah. And there's a lot of that, though.
Grief made me a little bit selfish in the beginning,
And that's okay. We all grieve differently. We
Yeah.
all grieve differently. Some may hide it better than others, and some cannot hide it, and they're the worst person you could ever imagine at the time. But everything is justified to a certain extent.
Yeah. Just
It's
don't
like,
stay there, and that's what I say. It's all about personal growth. That is kind of what I try to steer towards at letter of the deep end. Like, I want people, I want to see my growth, which I've been doing that my whole life. I told you, I've been writing my whole life, but I finally felt comfortable enough to put it myself out there. I like seeing my part. I love going back, and seeing, oh man, I remember that. That's crazy, and you put it out there. Once you put it there, it's there. Somebody can search it up. You got the tags, and
yeah.
kind of set it and forget it. Because I mean, that's kind of what I do anyway, because I'm moving on to the next thing because I don't want to be stuck.
With that said, what is a lesson that you would share?
A lesson. I would say I want to, you mean just any lesson or my biggest?
Yeah, whatever comes to you. It doesn't have to be.
So profound, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, am I supposed to be the deepest philosopher right now? Oh
Bring your daughter. She's a lot better than you right now.
Yeah. Literally. Okay.
Just kidding.
Let's see. A good lesson would be, don't be afraid to get to know who you really are. We can be so caught up in life's circumstances, there where you're at or where you're not at, goals, expectations, to-do lists, people's opinions. Um, silence it so that you can not only hear your own voice, which is what you'll hear first, but after you hear your own voice, you're going to hear God's. And he's never going to lead you astray. He's the way, the truth, and the light, and his light reflects on you. And we're called to, if you're still breathing, you're here to be a beacon of light to at least one person. And if I can do that, then that's what I'm here to do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this. This was a very it was a good conversation.
Oh, I think so too.
I really appreciate it. For those who are still with us, thank you for joining us. I just want a quick reminder for everybody. Remember the June book promo where we're featuring indie authors who actually write an author books on Substack. We're promoting it, trying to create a depository, a library of them. So go on my Substack, you'll see the link to the featured writers. And then Wednesday, obviously, one more story after this, and that the hospital stay will be completed to a certain extent.
Mm.
And then our next week guest will be, I forgot her name. No, I did not. Ashley. Ashley will be on next week. And Jesse, what a pleasure to have you online.
It's been great. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. You're the bomb.
Appreciate it.
Great. Talk to you later. How do I get out of here?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not supposed to. That's right.
We're good. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, everyone that came into the chats. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.